Welcome to Business Playmakers, the podcast that meets with innovators, trailblazers, and leaders to learn about their experience and what success really means. Hosted by entrepreneur and leadership coach Kyle Gorman.
Business Playmakers is presented by the Employer Blueprint. Employer Blueprint is dedicated to management and leadership development through one-on-one coaching and group seminars. You can find free resources from Employer Blueprint through YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And for more information, simply visit employerblueprint.com. Well, thank you for joining the first ever episode of Business Playmakers. And with this being the first episode, I just want to offer up, if you have any advice or suggestions or recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Please reach out to me. I'd love to hear what you have to say. But today's Playmaker is Dedrick Jackson. Dedrick was easy to get on the show because he actually works with me in my recruiting business. And so Dedrick loves technology and loves podcasts and vlogs and all of these types of things. So I asked him if he would join me for the first interview, for the first episode, to help us work out some of the bugs. So I appreciate him having the willingness to do that. But Dedrick actually has a lot of experience in sales and has really studied the craft of sales and spent quite a bit of time as a financial advisor, and then took a little stint off as a financial advisor to work in the family restaurant business, but then really, kind of felt that calling back into the sales world. And so we happened to have an opening, and he found us through some social media search that we were doing. And Dedrick joined our team about a year ago. He's been a great addition to the team. I think you'll be able to tell through the interview and the conversation that we have on today's episode, just the energy that he brings to the table in almost everything that he does. Dedrick also is married to a wonderful young lady named Dr. Jenny Jackson. They have 2 sons, and his sons have dynamically different personalities and different interests. And Dedrick has done a great job of really pouring into them and just supporting the things that they do. And so, it's really cool to see that, just to see that strong male father figure in those boys' lives. And something else that Dedrick rarely talks about is he's also a 2nd-degree black belt in Taekwondo. And so obviously takes a lot of character, takes a lot of commitment to accomplish that. And so I think that speaks a lot just to Dedrick's true core personality. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed just being able to sit down and have the conversation with Dedrick as we did. So let me know if you have any feedback. I'd love to hear it, and enjoy the show. Well, Dedrick, I want to thank you for coming on, and especially being the first person to try out this new process with the Business Playmakers podcast. As we jump right in, we're going to talk about where you've been. So talk me through a little bit just your professional experience, just a couple of minutes about your professional experience.
So I've always been in sales all my life. I can never remember, from retail sales at Toys R Us to Valvoline Instant Oil Change, selling different products, to all the way up to going to college and then becoming a life insurance agent while I was in college, which gave me the taste for finance and more customer service and relationship sales, which I feel is completely different than selling a product. And then from there, the opportunity to be a banker at Chase Bank, to JP Morgan, to Wells Fargo, being a financial advisor, and then now in a business-to-business environment, which is completely something that I hadn't had the opportunity to become an expert in, and I'm really enjoying learning that. So learning, I think, part of the where I've been is sales and marketing.
So when you were kind of going back to some of those earlier jobs, like you had mentioned with Toys R Us and Valvoline, did you sense then that sales is where you fit? Did it make sense to you, or was there some point that it just kind of clicked and you said, this is kind of where I belong?
I've always been good at sales, but as I've gotten older, I've realized that it's not that sales I was good at. I was never, because I think I have there's 2 different types of salespeople. There's people that can sell anything because they don't care about people and they don't care about a product. It's all a paycheck, or there's something else that motivates them.
Right.
And then there's other people that can't just sell anything. They have to be passionate about it. They have to believe in the product. They have to buy in. And then the cause of them buying in causes them to look at things differently, rather than it just being a sale. It's a relationship. It's a friendship. It's family. It's even down to helping them with the shutters on their house. I did that once as a financial advisor. To how your sign looks, and you become more of an expert in marketing and sales, not just selling something.
Yeah. Cool. That's very good. So along the way, what are some mentors that you've had in your career, and why would you say that those are people that you look up to or that you've looked to help really develop you to where you are now?
See, that's actually a really good question. I don't think that I've ever really looked up to anyone. Now, here's why I say that. I don't take someone and put them in a non-human environment. I made a mistake before of putting someone that I admired into on a pedestal, and you put someone there that all they can do is fail. Yeah. There's nothing they can do right, and so I found that the word mentor, I haven't really grabbed that yet. I haven't really grasped that.
Right.
Like, I have people even now that I look to for advice and I look to for guidance because I know that their opinion of something is going to give an objective to what I am.
Yeah.
I want someone who's going to challenge me.
Right.
But there's never been anyone. So like, Sherry, for instance, at JP Morgan, fabulous lady, and would still, even to this day, if she had a flat tire in Atlanta and had no one else to call, I'd go pick her up. Like, that's how much I admire what she does, and I admire her work ethic, and I admire her ethics and things. And so, but as far as being a mentor or to look up to her, and I think the reason I liked her so much was because she treated me as an equal, not as someone who was beneath her, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. So is it safe to say, based on that, then what we might call a mentor, really what you look for in people that you're going to trust to be your advisors, and maybe that's a different kind of approach to it, but those people are ones that you've seen have a skill set that you have some sort of admiration for, but that you also know are going to be honest with you.
Yes.
And not be yes people around and say, oh, Dedrick, that's a wonderful idea, but people that are going to say, well, have you thought about this, and have you considered that, and try to challenge you in a different way, but do it in a way that they know, I'm not perfect, but as an imperfect person, I want to challenge you as an imperfect person to do better.
Well, to give you an example, as we've already talked about recently, I did my very first blog.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to see myself on screen.
Yeah.
So if someone had come to me and said, that sucks, I would challenge them on that. Okay, why?
Right. Right.
So I don't have toes on that, but I love when people give me opinions. The opinion you gave me, which was it's a little choppy, I've already taken that in consideration. I'm thinking, okay, how can I do this better next time?
Yeah.
Cool. So I feel like that, as far as mentorship or advisors or just, having that connection with someone that's going to give you an opinion, but then they also have a reputation that you want to respect their opinion.
Right. Right. So, that's cool. Very good. So what is one of the biggest professional wins that you think you've had so far in your career? What's something that you would say, looking back on, you say, this was really a momentous occasion. This was a peak moment for me as a win in your career?
I don't know if it was a win, but it was a situation where I felt like I shouldn't have been there, that I was not lucky, because I don't think there's ever anything such as luck, but I felt like that the stars aligned. It's funny because there was two other people in there, and one had said, she said, what motivates you? And one said God, naturally, and then another one said, family, naturally. And I said, money.
Yeah.
And she said, wait, money, tell me what you mean about that. And I said, well, I can't give to God if I haven't got any. And I can't, my family's not going to love me if I can't bring home some money. So money is what motivates me. And she asked the other two people to leave, and I thought I was in trouble, and she hired me on the spot. Yeah. And so that was a situation where if it were anyone else in that seat in front of me, I would not have, that wouldn't have been a win for me.
Yeah.
But just being myself and being hungry was what allowed me to be there. So
that's funny. I had an interview like that one time, and I was very green and naive, and someone asked me about my long-term goal, and I made the comment, and looking back on it, especially in the world I am now, I would have thought, man, what a terrible answer, but it worked. They said, where do you want to be in the next 5 years? And I said, I don't know what the position is, but I know I want the corner office. I want your job. And looking back, how arrogant and stupid for me to make that comment to someone. But you're right. It's just, sometimes those things come together. And that was actually one of the reasons that they hired me. Later on, I found out, they said, whenever you said that, we knew you had drive. It didn't matter what it was. You had a passion, you had drive, and you were going to make it happen. And sometimes that's what it is. It's just that kind of level of honesty that I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I know without this, there's nothing else. So that's really cool. So on the flip side of that, what would you say, have you had any kind of fails in your career that you look back on and maybe not necessarily regret, but just say, man, that one, I messed that one up. That was a big one.
Well, there's plenty. Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. But I think the biggest fails that I have in my life, I mentioned growing up with a fatherless home. The biggest fails I've had in my life were leaving behind a life that I had built to trust a man that wasn't there for my whole life. So I say my biggest fails have to do with my father.
Yeah. Well, that's good that you can be honest about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's good that you can overcome that. And
it was more than one. There was about 3 of them.
Yeah.
And most recently another one.
Yeah. Well, good. So that kind of talks about, where you've been. Let's talk about where you are now. And not necessarily concerned with, kind of your career as it is today and what you're doing, but just kind of bigger picture than that. So how do you define success? What does success look like for you?
I think success to me is being able to learn and recognize that you're learning. Someone else told me, who I don't consider a mentor, but I still look back and remember the advice that was given me. And she said to me, you're learning when you're uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, just know you're learning. Yeah. And that was good for the time because it was 2008 and I was in the finance industry and it was always uncomfortable. And so, even every day I find myself challenged and I find myself learning and I find myself hurting. But, when you learn and when you're hurting, you're growing. Right. And so I think to define success is to be able to recognize whenever things are hurting, but it's for a good purpose and for a good reason, and that you have a clear vision on what's ahead of you. Yeah. I don't think success is determined by money. I don't think success is determined by health or anything like that. I think that success is determined by your attitude and how you approach things. I always tell my son, if you look for it, you're going to find it. No matter what it is. So if I walk through the day going, I got to make this one more cold call, nobody's going to answer, it's going to be a voicemail, well, that's what I'm going to get. Right. And so I think being successful is someone who's able to smile at someone and mean it. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my definition of success.
So as you kind of work through that concept of success for you, it's really sort of a day-to-day mentality or process. So do you consider yourself successful?
No.
Okay, and why?
Because I'm still working, and I think to consider myself successful would mean to be that the journey was over. And I think I'm one of those guys that just enjoys the journey. Yeah. Like I have a long-term goal in my mind. I have 15, 20-year goal. In fact, even now when I meet people, I've gotten so clear on it that when I meet people, I'm not hateful to people, but I don't give anyone time if I don't see myself being friends with them in 20 years. Right. And I know that's weird, but I think about the last 30 years, 39 years, and I think, man, at 19, where are all those people I was friends with? Yeah. They're nowhere to be found. Yeah. And so, I look at things on a more really long-term goal, long-term, attitude, and I think about what's going to benefit me in 20 years. Mm-hmm. Are the relationships that I have now, is it one that I feel like is going to be good for me in 20 years? If the answer is no, I'm not rude. I don't tell someone about it. Yeah. I just don't pursue it. And typically when you don't pursue someone, they don't pursue you either.
That's true. That's true. So if you wouldn't say that you're successful now and you really don't have a target to say, like, this is the moment where I feel like I've achieved success, what metrics have you put in your own life to say these are the things that I'm striving for to be successful?
I don't know. It's really funny that you asked about that because the word success to me is really different. As far as like I have goals and I achieve those goals. I might be successful at that goal, but to say that my life is successful, it's tough to know that until you're 80 and you look back and make sure you don't have any regret. Right. You know what I mean? And so the idea of success to me, I guess, is a little different. Yes, I'm successful on a day-to-day basis, and I'm successful on a month-to-month basis and a year-to-year basis. But as far as life being successful, am I, Dedrick Jackson, at 39, successful? Yeah. No, I have plenty of stuff I'd love to have already done. Yeah. But that's what keeps me driving too. Right. But to someone else who's 39 who looks at my life would probably go, "Wow, you're successful.
You got it all together."
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Look at this guy.
But yeah, I mean, so it's really that's a weird question, but I think the question that you just asked me, what do I consider the keys to be successful? Mm-hmm. I think that the only way, if you're going to call yourself successful, you have to have your own goals and your own opinion of it, and your own journey, your own ambition, your own thing. Like, give you an example. Someone that works across the street at the Aflac office might consider them successful because they now have their own office with a sign in the window. That might be success to him. Right. And that's motivating because then he's going to spend every minute he can to make sure he doesn't have to close that office because then he's ruined his success. Right. Right. I grew up in a household that we didn't have a lot, and I didn't have a lot of parental support. So now me being a parent is successful to me. Yeah. Like seeing my son succeed makes me successful. Yeah. So that's, I guess, that's all about, that's how you define success.
It is. It's all perspective, and that's one of the things that I love about this forum is kind of hearing about people's concept and their definition of what success is and where they are on that chart, because for everybody I think it's something different. It means something different to them, and so it's cool to just kind of hear where different people stand on that and how they feel like they've achieved it or are still striving for it in some way. So that's really good. So let's talk about the future a little bit. Let's talk about kind of where you're going, where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. What are the next 10 years like professionally? What do the next 10 years look like for you? So as you had mentioned, you're 39 now. So think about that. That puts you at 49 years old, and your kids are, the oldest one's getting ready to head off to college. And what does that look like for you professionally, though?
I think the older I get, the more I'm moving toward wanting to make sure that I can do whatever I want whenever I want to do it. And I think that started from when I was 20 years old. When I was 19 years old, I couldn't do anything I wanted to do. So I've slowly begun to say. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that one day I'm just going to up and say, you know what, I quit work. I don't think I'll ever quit work. But I think that, in 10 years, my oldest son will be playing Division I basketball.
There you go.
And I will be feeling successful as I sit and watch him. But I think it will be just having the ability to make my schedule, to make my life, to do what I need to do and still provide for my family. I think those are the two key things I think that would be. And, we go back to success. That's when I'll feel successful. If I can say, I'm making the schedule, and I'm making the money, and no one can tell me one way or the other what I should be or should not be doing, and I can enjoy the things I want to do in my own time. I don't want to quit working. I just want to work on my terms. I think that's what 10 years looks like for me.
So speaking of, I'm going to do a shameless plug real quick for those that are interested. Dedrick actually has a vlog out there about his son and his kind of desire and goal to make it to the NBA. What's the vlog called? So
the vlog, if you the vlog really doesn't even have a name yet. It's basically father-son journey to the NBA. But if you go to YouTube and you look up the username Just Us, hold on, I think it's just underscore us. Is that right? Just Us underscore crew.
Okay.
And so that actually came because my youngest son is into superheroes and he likes the Justice League, and so I put a spin on it, Just Us crew, because Justice League was taken already. So.
Yeah.
But and so the whole channel, the whole YouTube channel won't be just for Kobe. It's just that Dylan hasn't discovered what he wants to do yet. And you'll find in that first entry level vlog, you talk about what 10 years looks like professionally. That talks about the journey there. I just really enjoy the journey. And so that's an 11-12 year journey, that he might go to the NBA. I shouldn't say might, but that's his ambition, and he could do anything. He could be a general manager of a team for all but still the NBA.
That's right. He still gets the ring, right?
He still gets the ring at the end of the year. But it's Just Us underscore crew.
Cool. So check that out, Just Us crew, Just Us underscore crew. And it's a really cool vlog that Dedrick's got going, and so make sure you check that out as well. So this is something I always find really interesting, because everybody has a different concept of this. But what does retirement look like for you? What does retirement mean to you?
Death. Death.
So you think that? So are you assuming that at 51 years old you're just gonna die of a heart attack? Or are you saying at 90 years old you're still gonna be working, doing something?
I'm saying that I'll work till the last day, and the reason I say that is because I believe that when it's time for me to retire, that we won't be doing physical labor as much as we do now. Or I know I won't, because I'm already moving in that direction. And as long as my mind is okay, and let me be honest with you, that even if my mind isn't okay, I'm still going to find a way to do something with it, because everybody likes crazy, So,
that's true.
But no, retirement to me, I'll always work. I'll always have ambition. I'll always be working for something. And I get that honest. My grandfather is in a nursing home right now with Alzheimer's and dementia. He still to this day talks about, when I get out of here, we're going to go and we're going to do this. Now, this is a man that owned 90 some odd houses in Owensboro at one point. And lost it all because he had an injury where he fell out of a tree with a chainsaw and had to file bankruptcy and lost all of his stuff. And so he still has that ambition, even at 80 some odd years old and with dementia, and his brain's not working, but he's crazy as a nut, and he's still, that's what I'm going to look like. I'm cursed. So
that's good. And I like that idea. I like that concept. and who knows how things change over time and priorities change over time. But I think there's always a way to contribute to society.
Yeah, there's a community in Asia, I think, that the people live longer than anywhere else in the world, and the reason why is because they don't stop working.
Yeah.
Though I don't know if that's the reason why, but it's funny that's one of their criteria. Yeah,
that's really cool. So if you're not going to retire, what would you do if you won $1 million tomorrow? You win $1 million. What does life look like?
It's a good question. So I would like to say that I would do something responsible with it, but I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I would definitely make sure my kids' college were intact.
Yeah.
My wife and I have been very fortunate enough that we've saved a lot and done really well with our finances. I would make sure that security, we would make sure the house was paid off and the kids' college is intact. And then the rest, I think what I would probably do is build a youth center.
Yeah.
So I remember growing up and not having anywhere to go or anything to do. That's specific to our city, not everywhere. If I lived in Nashville, it wouldn't be the case. But here, I feel like that a free youth center, with a lot of sports. I've really gotten into sports since my son's been into it. Sports, just activities for kids. I think that would invite everyone, and it would be clean enough for the kids on 54 that want to come, and it would be inexpensive enough to make the kids that are on the west end of town want to come too, and have them all mesh together and create some unity. I think that would be a really cool project to see happen. Yeah.
That's a good aspiration. That'd probably cost more than $1 million. You might have to get some investors, but it'd be a good place to start.
If I put up $500,000 of my own, it would be easier to get investors.
That's right. Yeah. I've got half of it. Now let's see what we can put together. That's cool. So let's talk about how we give back and help others. So this is just, through a lot of interviewing through life, this is one of the questions that I like to ask, just because I think it's interesting. And kind of the goal here really is to help our listeners understand if they are in business or in some type of leadership role, what are things that people like and dislike so that they can try to look internally and see where they fall in this. So, I don't want names, but just characteristics of someone that you would define as your favorite boss or maybe even a coworker.
So I really can't stand more than anything facial hair.
I
joke, I kid.
understand.
No, the characteristics of a favorite or least favorite boss or coworker. So let's go with favorite. Let's be positive. Start out positive. Yeah. I think the favorite characteristics are somebody who listens and someone who doesn't approach it with what I can do for them, but instead what we can do together.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. I think that I know that I'm a spaghetti guy. And so what that means is I throw a lot of ideas out, but I wait for one to stick so I can do it, because I'm one of those guys that I don't like to sit around on things. Like if I get an idea and I say, hey, this is what I like, and the boss or coworker says, that's great, let's go forward.
Yeah. And
then it's done. Like the next night and that's the other thing, I should have expressed, is that I have an 8 to 5 and I also have an 8 to 2. Yeah. And so, sometimes my 8 to 2 is from my 8 to 5, that I'll get an idea in my head with social media or with advertising or marketing, and I'll spend that night really researching it, really getting down and dirty on it, and trying to find ways, because I enjoy going back to that person who empowered me and saying, hey, look what I found. You know what I mean? And so I think my favorite bosses and coworkers are people that not all my ideas are going to stick, and I'm okay with that. But when one does, I get the green light, and it's like, just go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it allows me to be me, and then also the same person that will look at me and go, hey, this is great, but let's do this.
Right.
And so I like that a lot. So
yeah, that's cool. That's good. So as we kind of reverse that, I'm sure you can think of some people that you haven't liked to work for or like to work with. What are some characteristics of people that you say you just try to stay away from, that you think are, could potentially be toxic in your life?
So I've always had this theory, and I tell my son this too, is that ignorance is contagious. Don't bring it around me, because it seems like when ignorant people are around, it makes other people ignorant.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that maliciousness and ignorance are the same thing, and so I don't like it whenever someone maliciously or because they don't know steps on somebody else's toes and then doesn't acknowledge it. So you step on, everybody's got toes and you step on them, but to have that humility to go, hey man, look, I'm sorry, I messed up, or hey, if I could do this again, I would have done it this way. There's bosses, though, I've found that won't admit that for fear of looking like a bad leader, when really that's what makes them look like a bad leader.
Right. Right.
And so ignorance or maliciousness, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Well, you know what? It's your job to know. You know what I mean? And so that's those are the two things that I think are the things that show in a bad boss.
Yeah.
So,
do you have any either books or authors, or maybe just public figures, public speakers, or whatever that you that you really find encouragement from, or you think the resources are great, or just that you would recommend to other people that you say, you need to go out and check out these people. These are the leaders that we need to be listening to. Is there anybody that you could recommend?
So right now I have 3 key people. I haven't listening and reading is the same thing to me. I don't have time to sit down with my face in a book.
Yeah.
And so I'm very social media minded in that if I can't leave it in less than 30 seconds, I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
And so I don't hold anything that I can't leave in less than 30 seconds. That's my theory. But but as far as influencers and leaders and authors, they're all in the same. I've really taken on one part of Grant Cardone, which is the idea that his confidence, his I'm the best attitude.
Yeah.
He takes it a little too far sometimes, but I feel like that everybody needs a little bit of that sometimes. You got to ask yourself, are we all Clark Kent or are we all Superman? And which one is the alter ego?
Yeah.
And so Grant Cardone he's Superman, and he doesn't care to tell you about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
And I feel like some of us could be Superman sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really like Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, who doesn't like Gary V?
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason I like him is because he's given me an idea that's made social media more human for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's key. And a lot of people listen to Gary V and they say, "Oh, he's got the answers, and now I'm going to go out and I'm going to sell social media." That's not what you should be doing. I think the idea of saying, you know what, when you get a comment on your post, respond to it.
Right.
You're not too big to respond. You got 5 comments. You got plenty of time to respond to that. So putting that human touch to that, I think, has really helped me. And then, I don't want to tote your horn. I mean, you do write my paycheck, but I don't miss a Kyle Gorman employer blueprint video. I think that you have a human way, and I'm really big on human thing. I think that sometimes people fail to remember that we're all human. I think that now anyone can post a comment on social media and they don't have to be responsible for it.
Right.
But I think that you have a human aspect to some of the advice that you have on your employer blueprint videos. And the reason that is because sometimes I look at it and I'll go, we just dealt with that this week.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Or something happened here that sparked, and I go, oh, that's right, it came from there. Just yesterday we were talking and what was it that was said? You gave someone an idea about something, and I said, hey, there's a video on it. It's criticism in the workplace.
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? So I like the human, and I also like that you practice what you preach. So very awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. So people hopefully know about that and then go ahead and check it out if they want to.
Yeah, go to the Employer Blueprint on YouTube and check out Kyle Gorman's videos. I promise you that the 2 minutes will not be a waste of time.
There you go. Thank you. So as we kind of wrap up here, what advice would you give to other people that are striving for what success looks like in their life?
Okay, this is really key for me. So, and this is something I've developed a theory on too. You can be successful, and you can develop relationships, and you can be everything to everyone if you just realize that nobody cares about you and what you're selling.
Yeah.
So if you can approach, and I still struggle with that, even in my pitch when I say, because I want 15 minutes of your time, I'm changing that.
Yeah.
Because nobody cares what I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So instead it should say, because I know your time is sensitive and very valuable.
Yeah.
All I ask is for 15 minutes on the call.
Yeah.
That's what it should sound like.
Yeah.
And so when you really truly approach something with the idea that you're not looking for a handout, you're not looking to care about anybody else but them, and realize that they don't care about you, there's 2 things that happen. One, they realize that you're not selling them something, that you're actually just trying to provide a benefit. And 2, you don't care if they say no. Because you don't care about yourself at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying jump off a bridge, but anybody who's made a cold call,
reason.
Anybody who's made a cold call knows it feels like jumping off a bridge sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my key things.
Good. So before we close out, there's one thing that I want you to share with everybody. Since I think possibly the very first day we ever met, sitting down in a deli across from the table, you made a comment, and I've heard you repeat this over and over and over again, and it's basically kind of your strategy or motto in sales about doing what's best for the company, doing what's best for the client. Tell everybody that, what you always say related to that.
So there's a 3-step process. You do what's best for the client first, no matter what. Then second, you do what's best for the company. And then third, you check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
The reason that's important, and I find myself still struggling with this today too, is that sometimes you're doing what's best for the client and it might not be what's best for the company. You know, just the other day I was telling you that I had to tell someone on the phone, I don't think this is a good fit.
Right.
I was doing what's best for them and for us at that point, and I checked my ego at the door, because if I were really doing what's best for them, then why would I tell them, overpromise them, and not be able to deliver?
Right.
You know, and then what's best for the company, I've got to refer that back over to someone else who's then going to have to deal with that difficult situation.
Right.
So,
if your ego's in the way, then you sell it and you make money, and it's bad for everybody else. Yeah. Well, good. I always like that. I thought it's something worth sharing with others. I hope people find some value in that. Dedrick, I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
I've
man.
enjoyed talking to you and just kind of hearing your story and going through some of these questions. So really appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for checking out today's Business Playmaker. Links to the resources discussed in today's episode are available in the show notes. For more information and resources from your host, you can visit him at www.kylegorman.com. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast for the latest episodes. And until next time, make it a great day.